Good morning, Commissioner Joshi and members of the Taxi and Limousine Commission. My name is Paul Steely-White. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Alternatives. We are a 40-year-old nonprofit with more than 100,000 activists in our network dedicated to improving the safety of New York City streets. I'm here today to testify in support of a rule requiring TLC licensed vehicles to post a safety reminder for drivers. This proposal will save lives and prevent injuries by reminding drivers to utilize extra caution while making turns on our pedestrian and increasingly bicyclist-rich streets. Failing to yield to pedestrians is the leading cause of injury in traffic crashes in New York City. The TLC's Vision Zero safety decal will serve as a daily reminder to drivers to exercise caution while driving. Vision Zero, of course, is a collective effort and involves constant awareness that our friends, neighbors, and loved ones' lives are at stake. Pedestrians, even when in the crosswalk, are some of the most vulnerable people on our streets. This decal will help remind drivers that they are active stakeholders in achieving Vision Zero. And finally, as has been pointed out by the two previous speakers, we know that left turns are 3 times more deadly than right turns. So looking at the placement of the sticker, we should bear that in mind. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. You've heard my name before. It's Dana Lerner. My 9-year-old son, Cooper Stock, was killed on January 10th by a reckless taxi driver who failed to yield while making a left turn. My husband was holding my son's hand as they walked legally in the crosswalk. The driver claims he did not see them. My husband is 6'3" tall. It's hard to understand how he couldn't see him. I spent this past Monday trying to gather my thoughts for today. I wasn't sure where to begin, but then something occurred which made it very simple for me to write this. I went to see my daughter play volleyball at her school. Last year at this time, Cooper was with me cheering her on. He was her biggest fan. But on Monday, I sat in the bleachers watching Cooper's friends cheering without him. I do not wish this agony on anyone. Right after the game, I hailed a cab. I take cabs very often. I'm fortunate to be able to do that. I told the driver where to go, and he made a U-turn in the middle of the street. I knew he was anxious to get off his shift. He was making one more stop for me on West End Avenue. He started speeding. I asked him to slow down. I then asked him if he had heard of Cooper's Law. As with every other cab driver I have questioned, and I have questioned many, with the exception of one driver, he had no idea what I was talking about. He took out a piece of paper and tried to write down Cooper's name. I handed him a bracelet with my son's name, drive safely, save lives, and the dates of my son's birth. And I said, you don't have to write it down. This is my son's name. Will I ever get into a cab when I don't have to do the work of educating the drivers myself? This cab driver was very kind, and he offered his condolences. Before I got out of the cab, I made him promise me that he wouldn't speed again. He said he wouldn't. I commend the TLC for being part of Vision Zero. I appreciate that there has been progress. Cooper's Law is very critical. Now a driver's hack license is immediately suspended when they kill or maim a pedestrian. An investigation must follow. It is just their hack license, however, that is suspended. I want to point that out. They can still drive. I know that the TLC is required to review the NYPD investigation results. Combining the DMV and the TLC points is a big step towards getting the worst drivers off the road. However, we need you to do much, much more. While I agree that there are many safe drivers on the road, it is imperative that dangerous drivers are not allowed to get behind the wheel. I had 2 instances yesterday where I got into cabs and the first driver could not see over the dashboard and had no idea where he was going. I had to tell him what to do. I had to tell him to turn on the meter, and it was very dangerous. And then later in the evening, I got into another cab, and he started speeding. And I said to the driver, please stop speeding. And he said, please stop speeding. He just didn't even take me seriously. So I agree that there are many safe drivers on the road, but I also believe that there are many drivers who are not safe. They do not understand the rules. They are not paying attention. And I was floored to learn that cab drivers are not required to do a road test. How can a professional driver be hired if they have not been adequately tested on the streets of New York City? Taxi drivers should be the safest people on the streets. In what other profession is such sloppiness allowed? Since my son died, I have learned the truth about laws. They are only good if they are enforced. I ask you, how do you intend to enforce Cooper's Law? If a driver's license is suspended pending an investigation, what will happen next? How will the TLC collaborate with the NYPD to make sure Cooper's Law is actually being enforced and that an investigation is done? Another Vision Zero law was passed, I believe it's 19190, making car crashes that cause an injury an automatic misdemeanor. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of this. It is not being enforced. What will make Cooper's Law different? And how will Cooper's Law be involved with this other law? There has to be a combination. If a driver is going to get a misdemeanor, how does that interface with Cooper's Law? I would like to know. I will not stop asking questions until I get satisfactory answers. What is the data that you are tracking? I would like to have the names of the people who you are working with at the NYPD to make sure all officers are being educated. Officers that I have spoken to, I don't know what Cooper's Law is. What are you talking about? Oh, that's so sad that your son died. I had this experience constantly. I expect accountability from all of you. This is egregious that this happened. And I'd like to get back to this driver I was referring to before, who I had on Monday night. He was very curious and clearly saddened when I pointed out the spot where my son was killed. What is Cooper's Law? He asked me. What does it mean? I told him a taxi driver's license was to be suspended if they killed or maimed someone. He said, that's not enough of a punishment. I agree. The person who killed my son is getting off with barely a slap on the wrist. He only had his hack license suspended. I pray that he and other reckless taxi drivers are never given an opportunity to kill other innocent people. Thank you.